in color, the continuing story of Peyton Place. Starring Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie, Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi, Ryan O'Neill as Rodney Harrington, Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson, Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson, Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington, Patricia Morrow as Rita Harrington, James Douglas as Stephen Cord.
Tonight, for the first time since her divorce, Marcia Russell has been out with another man, with Dr. Michael Rossi, who must have shared her enjoyment of the evening, or he wouldn't have done his best to prolong it. In fact, when a boy from Carolyn Russell's high school crowd escorted her home, they discovered her mother and Dr. Rossi still lingering over a cup of coffee. To Carolyn, her mother's date was a betrayal.
Oh, you're still up. Well, it's been quite an evening. It was nice seeing Jeff again. Was it? Does his group play at the Shoreline regularly? Mm-hmm. It was very nice of him to bring you home. It was very thoughtful. I always liked Jeff. Even he never really went out. Does he go with somebody special?
Lydia, Ruth, Ellen.
I see. He plays the field.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to get used to this girl-to-girl talk after we both come in from a date. I mean, what do I say? Is there any competition for Dr. Rossi, or is he up for grabs?
I haven't the faintest idea what his life is like.
It's just that I'm used to thinking of you as my mother.
Well, you just go right on thinking of me as your mother.
Oh, come on. Sitting here talking about my friends?
Just as we've always done. Nothing's changed, Carolyn.
You're kidding. I was rude tonight, Mother. I walked out on you and Dr. Rossi at dinner. I said that I was going to come straight home, and I came home after midnight, and nothing was said. Nothing but how thoughtful of Jeff to have driven me home, and how simply fine everything is. Whereas before, if Daddy were here, would... Oh, never mind.
Well, as far as the first goes, I think you're old enough now, Carolyn, to have some sense of responsibility about yourself. And as far as the other thing, your father isn't with us anymore. We're going to have to accept that and adjust.
You mean, pretend that he doesn't exist?
Of course not. Oh, Carolyn, you love your father. I know that, and I'd never do anything to change it. We had a good marriage, but it's over now. Now, onward and upward.
Sure, have a ball.
Now, you stop it. Now, just stop it. Oh, Carolyn. Don't you think I know how much it hurts you to see me going out with another man?
Well, I'll get used to it. And if I don't... You know, it's funny. I thought that women were always supposed to be attracted to the same type. But, Dr. Rossi isn't a bit like Daddy.
Dr. Rossi is a very fine man.
Would you like to see him again?
Oh, Carolyn, how many times am I going to have to explain this to you? If I'm going to lead a new life, I'm going to need new friends.
You don't have to explain. Just do as you like.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and good night.
It's the same old rules, isn't it?
Rules?
One for adults and one for us. You can forget about Daddy and go out with whomever you like. If it's Dr. Rossi, that's just fine. But Joe Rossi is off limits.
How was dinner at the inn? It's fine? Fine, he says. He ditches the daughter, ends up with the mother, stays out late, and all he can say is fine.
What were you, looking in a window or something?
No, I ran into Carolyn at the Shoreline. You know, I gotta hand it to you, big brother. You really work fast. Of course, I helped you get your foot in the door. Did you talk about me?
No, we didn't talk about you.
Well, at least you could have put in a good word. Maybe it wouldn't have helped. See, some have it, some don't.
You want to make this my problem? You want to go out with Carolyn? It's between you and Carolyn. And Mrs. Russell.
Oh, especially Mrs. Russell. What line did you use to get into the Russell Country Club?
I didn't use any line.
Oh, Marcia just went for your natural charm. Well, you see, she wouldn't be the first if she did. You know, I remember when I was a kid, and I used to hear you come home from a date. You know, I wonder what it was that you had. Was it that white intern jacket that kept the girls calling? Huh? When will Mike be home? You expect him?
I know, the phone just wouldn't stop ringing, would it?
Let's face it. You had that spark, that confidence. That's all. I mean it. You'd never open up, though, and tell me how you got it. I mean, you just smile like you're doing now. But me, good old brother Joe, he had to work at pretending to be a magazine salesman. Did Mrs. Russell tell you that I pulled that on her at the house?
No.
Yeah. Well, I did. It was a big laugh. Only she didn't laugh.
Well, Joe, that wasn't the only thing that gave him a bad impression.
Oh, you mean the lover boy bit? Yeah. Hey, you see, that's my bag. Look, you don't have to tell me that I come on a little too strong, a little too fast. I gotta have something going for me.
Well, try just being yourself. You know, that works. You don't have to just knock them over at first sight, you know. Try being yourself. It works.
For you, for Dr. Michael Rossi. With the smooth manners, the good job, and the wonderful way of making conversation. It works for you, not for me.
Come on, stop putting yourself down.
Yeah, sure. I'm as good as anyone.
You can be.
Not good enough for Marcia's Country Club. Not good enough for a daughter. I mean, that's what separates the men from the boys in our happy bachelor home.
It's always a lot easier to keep kidding yourself than to...
Then to what? Then to what? Take a chance on asking your little brother to join you and the ladies for dinner? Come on, Mike. Who's kidding who?
Dr. Rossi said you refused to give anything but your first name. You didn't want your family contacted. Why? Oh, he thought that you might be from Hastings Valley. Is that right? If you don't want to talk about your family, Edith, what about your baby's father? Does he know about the baby? Now, if you gave me his name, like...
No.
Now, it's wrong for you to try and protect him. He has a responsibility to you and the baby. Now, I could just call him up.
I said no.
Now, can't you see that it's wrong for you to go through this by yourself? He should be here.
So you could pray over us? Tell him it's his sin as much as mine? Sounds just like my pa.
No, I didn't use the word sin, and I won't. I want to help.
You Bible-slapping preachers, you know you're all alike. I got no use for the lot of you. Why don't you just go away and leave me be?
Now, Edith.
Leave me be. I ain't gonna tell you nothing. Just go away and leave me be. Did she tell you anything?
I couldn't get anywhere. She's too frightened, too hostile.
Oh, I know what it's like. Reverend, could I help?
You could try.
I'll take her to Dr. Rossi. Come on. Come on.
Don't push her.
I won't.
Hey, Don. How you feeling?
Hi. I'm Jill.
Terrific.
Jill Smith. The Reverend said
His
that...
wife?
No, I'm just a secretary. I had a baby, a little girl. I had her all alone, too, like you. Without my family or my boyfriend. I'm still alone. It isn't easy. When I found out I was going to have a baby, I ran away from home without telling my parents or my boyfriend. I had Kelly in a hospital 1,000 miles from anybody I knew.
Kelly?
Well, I named her for a nurse who was nice to me.
I thought maybe it was for your boyfriend. If it's a boy, I'm going to call him Jimmy. Oh, I'm so scared.
Of course you are. But that's why it's silly to go it alone if you don't have to.
What about you? Why didn't you tell your folks?
It wouldn't have helped.
Like mine. When I told them, they threw me out. They're very religious. Pa threatened to kill my boyfriend when he found out. He'd do it, too. Only I wouldn't tell his name. He tried to make me, but I wouldn't.
You love Jimmy, don't you? What about him? How does he feel about you?
If he knew what Pa had done to me...
He'd do something about it? Then tell him. If he cares, he's got a right to know. Would he marry you?
Didn't Pa'd know it was Jimmy?
He couldn't do anything about it.
You know my Pa.
Look, what makes you so sure Jimmy can't take care of himself? And you?
If you had it to do all over again, what would you do?
Well, I don't. But you still have a chance. If you love each other.
His name's Jimmy Darrell. He works for Hastings Lumber.
He'll be here. And don't you worry.
Thanks, Jill.
Try and stop and see you tomorrow. Okay. Okay, bye-bye. I heard most of that. You handled it very well. Jill, what is it?
She asked me what I'd do if I had to do it over again.
I heard. What would you do?
Nothing. It would be the same.
Jill, don't cry. Don't cry.
All right. What's the matter with the Reverend? He seems upset.
I made him angry. Something I said.
Oh?
Something I said about the girl who's going to have the baby.
Well, what did you say?
Oh, it's not worth repeating.
Did he find out anything from talking to you?
We found out the name of her boyfriend. It's Jimmy Darrell. He works for the Hastings Lumber Company.
Well, I wonder why he didn't say anything to me. I asked him to talk to her. Hey, well, you got yourself a healthy baby here and very active. She flirted with her uncle during the entire examination. You still got her on those vitamins?
Oh, yes. We're running a little low, but I'll pick some up on the way home.
Oh, look, don't bother. I've got some inside. Come on in.
Oh, all right.